Hello everyone, this is Professor Robert Solis. Welcome to this next video lesson. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this flowchart and we're going to turn this into a Visual Basic program. What I've already done is to create the graphical user interface where we allow the user to enter in 5 quiz scores. We click a button that says Calculate Letter Grade, and then it's going to display 67% means that you got a C, 83% means that you got a B, or something like that, some sort of a statement to indicate what the percentage is and also what the letter grade is. Okay. Just to give you a quick preview in terms of the names, I just simply called this guy over here. Let me pin this down. This is TXT Quiz 1 all the way to TXT Quiz 5. This is going to be BTN Calculate Letter Grade, although I explained that you could just simply say BTN Calculate and that would be okay. And then this guy over here is going to be LBL Result. So I double click on the button so that I can get to the code area, and I think to myself, well, based on this flowchart, what variables should I declare? Because it's not telling me over here declare quiz 1, declare quiz 2 as a whole number, as a real number. It's not telling me that. So I'm going to have to do some analysis. It does say read quiz scores, so that should be a pretty good clue to me that really what I need to do is have a quiz. I got to take the number that's in this text box, and I'm going to have to convert it into a number. So I'll start off with quiz 1, and then I have to go all the way to quiz 5 as a double, because the teacher may allow students to get a decimal point, like 95.3 or 95.7, say for example. I've got to take care of that point, whatever it is. I'll select this, copy, Control C, paste 2, 3, 4, 5, because I have 5 quiz scores. Now, I can change these by using this INS feature down here. I'm going to double click to make that OVR. And now I'm going to use the arrows on my keyboard, and I'll type in 2, and then I'll put the arrow down, and then the arrow to the left, 3, 4, 5. So I like using those arrows really quickly, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm finished with these variable names. I'm going to take this from the overwrite mode to the insert mode. So I'll just simply double click, and there we go. For those of you who have a Windows PC, you see the INS button on your keyboard. Tapping that once goes into OVR, tapping that again goes back into INS mode, right? Insert mode. Okay, so I think I need those variables for sure. Let me go back to the flowchart, and do I need anything else? Well, check this out. It says calculate the percent. Oh, okay, so I probably need a percent variable. So over here, I'll say percent as double. Now the reason why I say percent as double is, let me just give you an example here. You could get 0.97, right? Or 0.97, and you know that this is the same thing as 97%, right? Or I could get something like 0.58, say for example. That's 58%. But we're going to be getting this in the form of a fraction. So that's what percent will be, some decimal number like this. All right, so I've got that. Oh, look at this. It says letter grade is going to be assigned A or B or C, depending on the percent, so probably should make a letter grade variable. And do you see the 2 quotation marks right there? That means that's a string. So I think what I'll do is I'll say dim letter grade as string. And let me set it equal to nothing at first. So notice the quote, indicating that this is going to be blank at first. All right, so eventually the letter grade will be A, B, C, D, or F. Let's see here, is there anything else? It looks like I'm simply going to write the letter grade, which just simply means put that in this label. This verbiage right here, write letter grade, means display the result. So how do you display a result in a Visual Basic program? You just simply put it into a label. So it looks like I've got everything. Now, if I don't, I can always go back to this section, which I know we're not going to, but I'm going to save that for later. There's something else that we need to add here, but at this point, I think I've got everything. So now I'm going to go ahead and get the user input. So I'll go back over here to get user input. Quiz 1, we have to obtain that from the text box, but remember, a text box contains text. I know you typed a number into the text box, but it's going to treat this as text. So we'll say convert dot to double whatever is in the text box. Now let me stop right here. Now, you created all your text boxes with the letters TXT, so watch what I'm going to do. TXT. That's all I'm going to type. And notice how you get a drop down of all the text boxes. So it's asking you which one you want. Well, I'm going to double click on this guy right here. Now I'm not done. Dot, what property contains the text for this text box? It's text, right? So TE. In fact, I don't even have to type it anything, any additional comment or letters here, because already I can see the text is selected. I can either double click or press tab and then press enter. I'm done. All right. I think I'm just going to copy and paste this and then do some modification. So I'll take this guy, copy, and then paste for quiz 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. Now that's obviously not supposed to say quiz 1, 2. I mean, it's not supposed to say quiz 1 for everything. So what I'll do is I'll go back over here where it says INS, double click to change that to OVR. Let me change this to 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'll do the same thing over here. Text box, quiz 2, 3, 4, 5. You see why I love that override feature? It just makes it so quick. The copy and paste. Now you got to be careful because you could propagate syntax errors. So I'm trying to be as cautious as possible. I no longer need this OVR mode, so I'm going to double click, change that to insert, and now I've obtained all my user input. Okay. So now that I've obtained all of the input, now of course you see that I had to convert it, right? I had to convert it into a double because that's what quiz 1 through 5, they are doubles. So I got to convert these to doubles and then assign them to the variable. The only reason why we have a green underline for percent is because I haven't calculated that yet. So let me go over here to the calculation section and let's solve for that percent. Now, that percent is going to be the total student score divided by the total maximum. That's how you would determine your score. So if you got 500 and there's 500 possible, 500 divided by 500, that's 1. That's 100%. If you got 250, 250 divided by 500, that's 0.5. That's 50%. So forth and so on. So I need to determine what that value is. All right, so I can take percent is going to be the summation. Now I'm going to put parentheses, and I'll say quiz 1 plus quiz 2, and so forth and so on, all the way to quiz 3, quiz 5, I'm sorry. Now, divided by. So that /, which on your keyboard is the symbol underneath the question mark, call that a /. That is division. Okay, that's the symbol for division. Now, you've just added up all the students' quiz scores, and now you're going to divide it by the maximum possible. Well, let's assume that the maximum possible is 500 because you have a total of 5 quizzes. Each of them are worth 100. That's 500. So I put 500, and I'm going to put 0.0 to be consistent because 500 like this is an integer, but I'm dividing a bunch of doubles by this integer. So really I should make that a 0.0. Now I've converted that into a double. It's a number with a decimal point. Does it really mean anything in terms of the way that we look at the value? No, 500 and 500.0 are the same thing. It's just that we're trying to make sure that we're mixing apples with apples and oranges with oranges. These are doubles. Let's divide it by a double. Now what I've just done is a major, major no-no. We call this hard coding. You never want to hard code. All right, check this out. Do you guys, you're probably too young for this. Do you guys remember the Y2K scare? I don't know if you ever remember that. When we went from 1999 to 2000, that was going to wreak major havoc because most computer programs they thought programs are going to be rewritten every year, so they're going to be updated. Well, that wasn't the case. Social Security Department had programs that were written in the 70s or 80s. They used those same programs for decades. Well, what would happen is that the first 2 digits, the 19 of the 1999, the 19, they said, don't change that. It'll always be 19. Only change the next 2 digits. So we went from 1983, 1984, 1985, so forth and so on. So what do you think is going to happen when we reach 1999? If you're not changing the 2 digits, the 99 becomes 100. Or if it's only going to be 2 decimal points or 2 digits, it's going to go from 99 to 00. So you went from 1999 to 1900. Well, already you can see the ramifications of like calculating, well, this person should get this much because they've been in Social Security for, from 1999 to, or from 1975 to 1999, say, for example. Well, that's very easy. 99 minus 75, that tells me how many years you've earned towards Social Security. But what if it's now 1900? Now you've got negative numbers. You've wreaked all kinds of havoc. And this is the problem with Social Security or the Department of Energy or all of these programs that lasted way too long. And programmers back then thought, oh, you're just going to rewrite it, update it. And they did something major. They hard-coded. They should have not typed in 19 and then whatever the next 2 digits are. They should have created a variable. So what we're going to do is this. We're going to go back over here to our declarations. And I'm going to hit enter. And I'm going to say max score possible. And that's going to be a double. And I'm going to assign this to the number 500. So I'm going to go back over here and create a variable. Now, I'll take that variable name and I'll remove this 500 over here and replace it with this. And now I think you can see the beauty of this approach. The instructor says, oh, wait a minute. The 500 is not the maximum possible because all of my quizzes are 200 points each. Okay, you have 5 quizzes, 200 points. Oh, so this should be 1,000. Wait, hold on for a second. All of my quizzes are 25 points. Okay, so 25, you got 5 quizzes, 25 times 5, that's 125. So do you see how easy it is for me to change the maximum score here? And then I'll never have to worry about hard coding because I've established what this is. Now in our case, the instructor says every quiz is 100 points. Okay, 100 points, I've got 5 quizzes, that's 500. So I'll just simply go over here and change that to a 500. So you never want to hard code. Now, if you are using an equation, then don't worry about that. You're not hard coding. For example, you know that the area of a circle, I don't have this thing declared, but just so that I can say my area is going to be pi r squared. So math.pi times r squared, which will use the power function, radius, comma, 2.0. Ah, Professor Solis, you hard-coded. No, I didn't. In this case, we wouldn't consider that to be a hard code. This is part of an equation. What is the area of a circle? Pi r squared. What is the circumference of a circle? 2 pi r. So if I put the number 2, would that be hard coding? If I put pi there, would that be hard coding? No. If it's part of an equation, that's not hard coding. If it's part of something that can change like this, the maximum possible score, that would be hard coding. And you don't want to do that because then you will end up doing what happened with prior to the Y2 scare. They hired these old 60-something-year-old programmers to come back and fix their problem because these programs were written in COBOL and Pascal, and everyone had moved on to the more updated languages. I don't know what COBOL and Pascal is all about. I'm into C++ or Java. So they hired these old retirees to come back, fix all of this, remove all the hard codes, and then change them into variables. Okay. Does that make sense? Any comments or questions? Okay, so now that we've got the percent, because I'm going to add up the total sum of the quiz scores divided by whatever the maximum possible, now I can determine what the letter grade should be. So let's go back over here, and it says over here, calculate the percent. Okay, we just did that. We calculated the percent. If the percent, so see this diamond shape, right now, at this point, whenever you see the diamond shape, you think if. Okay. Now I'm going to change that definition later on, where this could be an if statement or a while statement, right? Either a selection or a repetition structure. But for right now, when you see this symbol, think if. Okay? If the percent is greater than or equal to 90. Okay, so if the percent is greater than or equal to 0.9, don't put 90, right? We have to put the decimal form. Then, all right, so do you see that you acted as a translator from Flowchart to Visual Basic? if the percent is greater than or equal to 90. If that's true, see that little t? If that's true, then the letter grade is A. Okay, so if that's true, then my letter grade is A. Enter. Let me hit backspace. Else, if the percent is greater than or equal to 0.8, then now where did I get that from? Well, that's this guy over here. Scroll down a little bit. Else, if the percent is greater than or equal to 80, then the letter grade will be a B. The grade is going to be a B. What if that's not true? Well, what does my flowchart say? Else, if the percent is greater than or equal to 70%. Okay. Else, if the percent is greater than or equal to 70%, then what is that supposed to say? The letter grade is going to be C. Okay, so letter grade C. And then I have this next statement over here. Else, if the percent is greater than or equal to 60. Okay, so else if percent greater than or equal to 60. If that's true, what am I supposed to do? The letter grade is D. Letter grade is D. All right. Now, let's go back to my flowchart. If all of the above is false, so let's see here, down over here, if all of the above is false, then what am I supposed to do? Set the letter grade to F. So this is not telling you that you have to put an else statement. You have to know that. So I'm teaching you that right now. This last one, if this is true, do this. If this is false, do this. So the way that we'll do that is with an else statement. The else statement must always exist at the bottom if you are going to use an else statement. It's always at the bottom. In other words, I wouldn't do this. If, else, else if, else if, else if. No, it doesn't work like that. This is at the top. This is at the bottom if you are going to use it. Else ifs are always in between. Okay? So the flowchart has instructed me, whatever is true, this is what you're supposed to do. Finally, if this is false, this is what you're supposed to do. The next thing that I'm supposed to do is to write the letter grade, which means display it. Well, in Visual Basic, the way that we display things is we put things on labels. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll go to the output section. And we'll say LBL. Ah, there's the result. Label, dot, text. Okay, so let me see. Something like a 67% means you earned an A, or means you earned a D, or a 97% means you earned an A, something like that. That's the kind of verbiage I want. So how about this? A, or I'll put parentheses just so that I'm grammatically correct for any possible situation. And I want to do something like a 67%, a 37%. I know the percent, but here's the problem. I don't want to do this. Watch. I'm going to concatenate that with convert dot to string, whatever the percent is. I don't want to do this yet. All right, what is percent going to be? It's going to be something like 0.9 or 0.3. So I don't want to display it like that. I want to display this thing as a percent. So I'm not going to use this approach. I'm going to twist it around. Watch this. Percent dot toString parentheses. I'm going to display this thing as a percent, and I want one number after the decimal point. So let me just explain to you what this does. If the output is, if percent is 75% like this, or 0.75, this statement would say, oops, I'm sorry, that's not a comment. I'm thinking C++. Let's say, for example, that that's what your percent is. Then the output would look like this. 75.0. So it's going to display this thing as a percent. It'll put the percent symbol there. The 1 over there means one digit after the decimal point. If this were 2, then we would get 2 numbers after the decimal point. If I made this thing 0, then no numbers after the decimal point. So that's what this nomenclature does. When I convert this to a string, and here's the formatting. How am I going to format this? How am I going to make it look like on the screen? Well, I definitely want a percent symbol. Okay, you got it. But how many numbers after the decimal point do you want? Well, in this case, none. If I put 1, then 1 number after the decimal point. So why don't we play around with it? Let's experiment with this. But let me finish this up first. This was just an explanation here. So a 97% means you earned an A, something like that. So concatenate that. Means you earned, and I'll put the same thing here, A or and, because I don't know what I want to be grammatically correct after the quotation mark, and then I'm going to simply send out whatever that letter grade is. So in other words, if I got a 95, this is how it would read. A 95% means you earned an A. If I earned 67%, a 67% means you earned a D. So forth and so on. Okay? Comments or questions?
So it just says and letter grade? There's nothing after the and.
That's right, yeah. So that'll be the last thing because it'll be an A, a B, a C, something like that. Well, let's see what happens. Let me start the program. And I'm going to start off with something really easy. The student got 100% on everything. Okay. So I'll go over here and type in 100s for everything. And now, when I press calculate, let me see. A 100% means you earned an A. Okay, so that's correct. It displays that information correctly. What if I got 50s for everything? So let me just replace this with 50s. Now that means I got an F because that's 50%. So see, 50% means you earned an F. And then every combination in between, right? So maybe I got 100s for all these guys. And let's see what that is. Okay, that's 70%, so I got a C. And what happens if I put a 100 right here? That's 80%, so I got a B. And maybe if I put 100 over here, that's 90%. That's an A. I could put, how about this, like 75.5. Okay, so that's an 85%, so that means I earned a B, so forth and so on. Right? So what this video lesson has done is it's shown you how to go from a flowchart like this guy right here to an actual program, simply taking it step by step so that you can translate from flowchart to Visual Basic. So this is Professor Robert Solis. I hope this video lesson was helpful. Have a good day. See you next time.